was going to be a Team Canada starter. He is the largely the major reason for Tampa Bay's success thus far. I mean, let's not forget they are still first in the East. I mean, yes, they've had some stellar goaltending as well, which has helped them. But Stamkos has been phenomenal. And what's even more impressive is he's been phenomenal without Martin St. Louis, who's not been bad, but he hasn't been scoring at the same clip as Stamkos has, which is unusual because Stamkos and St. Louis are usually hand in hand with one another. They're kind of like
in the standings.
Yeah, they're usually like this, usually like the Sedin twins in that way. But St. Louis hasn't had a bad year, but he definitely hasn't been scoring at the same pace he normally does. Yet Stamkos is just flying. He's firing along. So this is not only a big blow to Tampa Bay, who now may fall deep into the standings without him. Oh, you will argue against that, I know. Now also Team Canada may be without their best player. The good news is early reports are indicating that the most he will miss is 3 months. And if that's the case, this is, of course, unsubstantiated. This is rumor. If this is the case, the first game is, I think 2 days shy of 3 months away for the Olympics. So realistically, there is still a good chance Stamkos will play for the Olympics, for the Olympic team. But there is also a possibility he won't. I mean, if this injury is more severe, luckily he had successful surgery, but if it's more severe, he might be out for 4 to 6 months. Marcus Naslund, former Canuck, had a terrible tibia break as well. He actually broke 2 of them, but one in either leg. He was out for 6 months. So Stamkos, luckily, his injury isn't as severe. He only broke 1 bone. But that just goes to show you, this is a very important bone. This is pretty much what allows you to stand up on your legs. And on your leg, I should say, in Stamkos' case. So, I mean, that's not take it lightly. It is an incredibly serious injury, one of the worst ones that you could have as an NHL player. And there is a chance he might miss the Olympics, which would be a huge blow for Canada. I mean, they're deep as hell, so realistically they'll still probably do okay without him. Realistically, they're still a contender for gold. But if you're not Team Canada and you see Stamkos going down, now suddenly your team has a better chance of winning it. Because let's not forget, Stamkos is one of the top 3 players in the world right now. He was going to anchor that first line with Crosby and possibly Duchesne, and now he might not. And if that's the case, then Canada, if they won't struggle, but they're definitely not going to have as easy a time getting to that final round. So, I mean, let's hope for the best. Let's pray that he's okay, because Canada does need him for sure. Stamkos is a very special player.
Yeah, I agree completely. However, you are right. I will disagree with you with the Tampa Bay Lightning thing. I think they have a strong chance to stay on top of the standings. I mean, right now they're having some of the most spectacular goaltending in the NHL.
Well, yeah, that's what they got right now is goaltending. But where's the depth? Name me. I mean, St. Louis, sure. I mean, he's very good. But besides St. Louis, what else do they have offensively or defensively beside the stellar goaltending?
Well, actually, Valtteri Filppula is a very underrated offensive player. He's got 6 goals on the year. Yep. Not to say that he's going to fill the roles of a Steven Stamkos, but if you ask me to name players, I shall. Victor Hedman, he needs to have a better season than he has had so far, but if he can find his game and be that towering, scary defenseman that we know he can be, I mean, they're playing well defensively anyway. They're actually in the middle of the pack in goals against in the NHL. So that's a pretty solid statement. I mean, there's a lot of teams with 60 or more against. There's a lot of teams, that are maybe at the high 30s, and they're at 43. So right now, it's not looking bad. Yes, Stamkos has 14 goals, so that brings their goals for down considerably. But they're 13-5, and let's keep in mind that the New York Rangers are 500 and they're in the playoffs.
Yes, this is true. I mean, Tampa without Stamkos, it's not like they're a horrible team. You're right; they have some decent players.
They could go 500 or less and have Stamkos return, and they would be in the playoffs the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not hard to keep 500.
You know what? I mean, I'll say this much: they're lucky they're in first right now, because if they were in 6th or 7th, they'd be out of a playoff spot. I agree with you there, because they're so high up in the standings right now. There is a chance they do, and there is a chance that they could still maintain that 8th or that 7th spot. But I still think they're going to fall severely. I don't think they're half the team without Stamkos. He makes up something like 70% of their points total so far. I mean, the guy is just a machine. Besides saying,
that's a valid point, but I still think that there's other NHL teams and other teams in the NHL that have players of that caliber that that we don't see up there. I mean, like Vancouver is in 8th spot right now, and you could argue that they have 2 of the best top 10 NHL players in the league right now. I keep saying redundant statements. I don't know why, but so the Canucks. You look at them; they have the potential for top 2 in scoring. Washington has only been good as of the last season, maybe. And Ovechkin is, I mean, come on, one of the best players in the NHL. We were just talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they have a healthy Sidney Crosby who's leading the league in scoring, and they're in 5th, 11-7. So it's not, and I mean that's a blatant statement. There's no I in team and blah 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 blah. But it's so true, and all Tampa Bay has to worry about is letting the Stamkos injury get to them.
Yeah.
If they come out and play,
if they rally around it, that's a huge thing for sure.
They got to do that, and it like you said, he's looking to make a good recovery. 2 months, if you can play 500 hockey, and I mean obviously that's not their goal. Their goal is to remain first and show the league that it's not that big a deal that they don't have Steven Stamkos, and all the power to them because I quite like the Tampa Bay Lightning, and lots of hope for those players, but. I seriously think that they could maintain this position. Things have to fall in the right places, but I wouldn't put the odds against them. I'd say 50-50. They don't even leave the playoffs by the time, maybe 6th or something like that. But by the time Stamkos gets back, he'll have the playoff team to come.
So you agree they might fall to like 6th or 7th possibly?
I'd say in a worst case scenario, obviously
that's fair.
Really case they're out, but I'm thinking top 3, top 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you there. I understand what you're saying, and there's of course there's an outside chance that will happen, but I'm just looking through the roster, man. Filppula is underrated. It's pretty bare bones. Like their defense is pretty average. I mean, they're not bad. It's not a bad defensive core, but it's not outstanding. I mean, Eric Brewer is all right. Matt Carl is all right. Victor Hedman, in my opinion, is a bit of a draft bust thus far. He is not bad, but he's definitely not a huge presence.
Yeah, draft bust is an appropriate statement.
Yeah,
I think
Matthias Olin and Sami Salo are both injured right now. I have a funny story about Salo in a second. Matthias Olin
it's the curse. You want to bring up the curse, right?
Well. Okay, I'll say it right now. I was just joking. There's this amazing picture online that was posted the other day, right after the injury of Stamkos. You can't see his face; it's being covered up. All you see is this arm lifting up into the sky, and Sami Salo is the player lifting down, and they're just like grasping onto each other. And you could just see, just from it's a great photo, just of the image of the 2 arms grasping each other, how much pain Stamkos is in, and it's like the other arms just reaching out to him, and Salo's like, brothers in arms, like, I feel your pain, man, get through this, we'll get through this together. It's a very touching photo, like, it's very, very powerful. I urge people to look it up. It's one of the better hockey photos I've seen in quite some time. But I was joking when I saw that Salo would, like, pass along the curse or something like that, and knowing Salo's luck, he'd probably get injured lifting up the stretcher, because that's just how brittle Salo is. And what happens? Like 3 shifts later, Sami Salo gets injured. He's out for the game. So There you go. But yeah, that's a great photo. Not to make light of Stamkos' injury, I just found it kind of funny how Salo gets injured in the same game, because he always gets injured. But I don't know, man. I'm looking through this roster, and I'm just not seeing a lot of depth there, to be honest with you. I mean, actually, to be honest with you, looking at the roster, if anything, they've been overachieving severely, because they really are lacking in a lot of areas. Their top 4 is average, bottom 6 is weak. Their top 2 lines without Stamkos are solid. I mean, yes, Filppula is a good player, and St. Louis is still an all-star, but Stamkos was a huge chunk of that team, so I think realistically, I'm going to say 6th to 8th is where they will drop to. I don't totally disagree.
Until Stamkos comes back.
Yeah, until Stamkos comes back. Don't get me wrong. As you say, there's the chance, and I'm not completely in complete disagreement with you. There is a chance they will rally around it and play decent hockey still. And I will say this: their one saving grace is both Ben Bishop and Lindback have been outstanding. Anders Lindback, he was one of the 3 stars a couple weeks back. Ben Bishop probably will get one soon. Ben Bishop's been playing phenomenal hockey. Both of those goaltenders are a huge factor into Tampa's success. So let's just say for a second, both the 2 of them, this 1-2 punch of just phenomenal goaltending, continues to roll along the way it is. Then yeah, I think your prediction is a little more sound, because if the goalies continue to play the way they have been, Tampa might have a chance. So there is always that. The goaltending is a big key for them. But yeah, it's terrible for Stamkos, and every Canadian is hoping he makes a speedy recovery. Let's talk about something else now. The GM's meeting. You hear about this?
Yeah. I was actually quite excited to hear about this until I found out what the options were, but
so yeah, they're looking into getting rid of the shootout, or at least getting rid of it as much as possible. I will say this: they are very opposed to having ties, a tie system. So they don't want ties. They do want that extra point in there because ties are, well, boring to say the least. So what some GMs are proposing is there's a few different scenarios. One of them is, or two different, I should say. One of them is a 10-minute 4-on-4, followed by a shootout. Realistically, a 10-minute 4-on-4 would probably lead to a goal. That's one of three, sorry. Another one is a 10-minute 4-on-4, followed by a 5-minute 3-on-3, followed by a shootout, which would... very, very realistically, there wouldn't be a shootout at all at that point, just because 3-on-3 hockey, it's almost impossible not to score. There's just no defense whatsoever. You put your three best players out against each other. It's actually very entertaining hockey. The BCHL does it, as well as some other junior leagues around the world. If you've ever watched 3-on-3 hockey, it's actually a ton of fun, just because it's like an all-star game. No defense, your three best players against their three best players, sometimes one defenseman, usually three forwards. It's a lot of fun. It's very entertaining, much more entertaining than a shootout. So, I mean, realistically, a 10 minutes 4-on-4, 5-minute 3-on-3, followed by a shootout, you maybe have like 5% of your teams going to shootout still. But realistically, that's the scenario. And then there's some people that still want to keep it the way it is. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I know you're kind of opposed to the idea of a shootout.
Did you say the third option? I thought you said there was three.
No, I can only think of two. If the third one comes to me, I'll pipe up.
So you know my opinion on this already. It's pretty much, I hate the shootout. I think it's ridiculous that it's even there. Individual effort is just brutal. I'd rather have a tie than the shootout. I know that opinion probably isn't popular, but in any sense,
you want a tie, really?
Over shootout. I just can't, because like the tie. I mean, I don't want a tie either.
I agree with you. Shootouts are stupid. I mean, anyone that's listened to our show before know how we both feel about shootouts. It's a complete waste of time. It's nothing but a cash grab. It's not a team win at all. It's one player on one player. It has if anything, it belittles the effort of the previous 60 minutes, or in that case, 65 minutes up until then, just because it's one guy winning it for you. So I agree. Yeah. Shootouts are stupid. But I mean, it sounds to me like there isn't going to be ties ever again. So. With that said, how would you feel about a 10-minute 4-on-4 followed by a 5-minute 3-on-3?
That would be the only solution out of the options given that I would choose. However, if it were up to me, my first idea on the table would be continuous overtime. Continuous? I don't care if it's continuous 3-on-3 or continuous 4-on-4 or whatever. But
dude, guys would get so tired.
These guys are professional athletes. They, some weeks are only playing 2 games a week. Some weeks are a little heavier. But honestly, I don't think many of them would go that deep. And you were telling me earlier about the possibility of them going to 3 a.m. We've never seen that with 5-on-5.
I was being a little facetious there, but I mean,
yeah.
But you got to understand, there's going to be a lot of times where guys are going to get tired. I mean, what happens like 70 games into the season, and the Montreal Canadiens have played 10 3-on-3s in a row?
Do you think go to the shootout in the 10 minutes of 4-on-4 and then the 5 minutes of 3-on-3 scenario?
Realistically, you'd see very few shootouts. I'd rather have that than continuous overtime. How many would go to shootouts in that scenario?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's your ballpark.
5%, maybe 10 at the most, and that's being generous.
Okay, that still seems like quite a bit to me. So that's like, because 82, I don't even know what the math is here. It's something like 2,400 games.
Sure.
So you're saying like 240 of them? I don't even know if that many go to the shootout now.
Well, I'm not a mathematician, man. I mean, I can't give you the raw numbers.
What I'm saying is if you had continuous 20-minute 3-on-3, you'd never make it to second overtime. Never. 15 minutes of 3-on-3 of doing line changes, they'd be wiped.
But guys would get so tired, though.
Shooting gallery at either end.
By the time you get to the playoffs, though, your team will be just dead. I mean, what do you do? Like, if you're the Montreal Canadiens...
Why? They're only playing 15 minutes of overtime, which is what they're doing anyway. In the 10-minute...
Well, no. Well, you were saying but continuous. What if the off chance that they go longer than that, which probably will happen sometimes?
One game would go maybe to double. I'm saying I could almost guarantee you that 0 games would go to the second overtime period.
Okay, so what you're saying...
99.9% of the games are going to be done within the first 15 minutes of the first overtime if it's 3-on-3.
So you're saying, like, say 10 minutes 4-on-4, and then continuous 3-on-3 until someone scores?
Yeah, or I'm so confident I would say 1 20-minute period of 3-on-3 and then a shootout. Because you would never see that shootout, ever. 0.
20-minute 3-on-3. So scrap 4-on-4 altogether. Just go straight to 3-on-3.
Go straight to. You want to see goals. You want to see fast hockey. It's still a team effort. You want to go home. That's how you're going to go home. You're going to watch 3-on-3.